when I was looking at some of these, had a video where I talked about bandstands, of which, apparently 1,200 were built around the UK from 1860 up until, through to the Second War. But when you look at, they have octagonal bases, but when you look at them, a lot of them have issues with ground level as well. So they appear to have been through a more recent event. And here's just another one, the bandstand at Temple Gardens, and here it is today. But again, probably not designed like this. But getting back to this park, what I also wanted to mention is that, so there was a bunch of these intentionally ruined structures, so they say, associated with this garden. But today, half of the original estate of this that landscape park, garden park, has been turned into a golf course. So isn't that interesting, right? Because if there was more things that were buried associated with this site, well, you build a golf course, you have mounds, and you can destroy things along the way. So isn't that a good way to hide potentially evidence from this previous destruction event? Now, I was looking at another one of these ruins, these sham ruins that they tell us are intentional, and there's one called the Sham Castle in Bath, England, and this is the front of it. You come around the back, it appears to have issues with ground level, but they tell us again this is intentional. But when you look at this and where it's located, this castle, there's a golf course right in the vicinity. And again, I can't help wondering, are they hiding things with a golf course, right? Things like that. I had heard this actually from Michelle Gibson, a channel does pretty good stuff. But yeah, I'm starting to think she's on to something with that. And even if you look in North America, in Newark, Ohio, and if you look at the Octagon and Circle Mounds in Newark, Ohio, they're now the site of this Mound Builders Country Club, a golf course, and you got sand traps right in the right on the outskirts of this circle mound, and there's some in this octagonal mound. But they just, I'm pretty sure this is all intentional. And I just wanted to mention, in 1925, it looks like there was an article talking about 14 giant human skeletons being removed from this site. So just an interesting tidbit. But this concept of golf courses being used to hide our history, I think that's pretty spot on.
My name is Michelle Gibson. This video is based on a post from my blog on piercingtheveilofillusion.com, a word about golf courses. I believe that golf courses are specifically related to the cover-up of mound sites. Why would I believe that? When I received this map of the Washita Empire, I started looking up information on different places shown on the map. I noticed Jekyll Island had a yellow triangle next to it, indicating the presence of an earthen pyramid and/or mound complex. When I looked up Jekyll Island mounds to see them, this is what came up. Jekyll Island has an interesting history of interest in it by the very wealthy. Even now it is owned by the state of Georgia and run by a self-sustaining, self-governing body. It became a retreat for the very wealthy in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and was the place where the Federal Reserve System was created in 1910. I believe mound sites like this have a very special significance in the ancient advanced civilization. Considering that golf is a sport associated with the wealthy and powerful, it would stand to reason that they would rework these sites for their own purposes, like carving out sand traps from the mounds of the ancient ones. I believe they do this to continue to show dominance over the ancient civilization. I don't know if all know the truth, but some certainly do, especially in the upper degrees of Freemasonry and other elite groups. And members of these groups are in government and throughout society. They know the truth. And they do everything they can to demean the people they secretly worship. It sounds crazy, but I believe this is true. They have stolen the legacy of human beings of higher consciousness and pretend to be them while marginalizing and brutalizing them in the worst way. You have the same precise geometry and archaeoastronomy in earthworks like these in North America that you have in other countries. As a matter of fact, Karl Monk says in his video on the code that there is a correlation between Stonehenge and Newark. So building a golf course on the Newark earthworks is like building a golf course on Stonehenge. But they did it. These earthworks come into play on 11 of the holes. Since the historical narrative that we are taught leaves out the true history, known only to a few, no one knows about the abuses like these that have occurred and still occur. And I will definitely be talking more about that in future videos.
I did want to touch base with you because when we were communicating, I think back a couple of months ago, you said that you work on golf courses.
Yeah.
And
So-
you were noticing things about golf courses, because I've been saying for a while that I think golf courses are mound sites.
Mhm.
So go ahead.
That's exactly that. Where I live in Calgary, the layout of the city, there's a golf course north, and then directly south of it, there's another course, and in between is a power line. And then there's, some valleys and stuff in between. But I've worked on both of said golf courses, and I've been all up and down that power line, and there's mounds everywhere. It's, these golf courses, in between the holes, there's gigantic mounds with, trees growing that have been grown since before the courses were built. And it was already there. And then we just we built, some more sand traps, dug into them, and, built around what was already there.
Do you have any sense of what they might have been used for? Just out of curiosity, knowing that they're not tombs, they must have had some kind of function.
Well, so I mean, I've tried, one of my favorite things is mowing greens, just walking back and forth, cutting straight lines, but it's easy to meditate. I spent a lot of time, even trying to tap into something. And the golf course I was at this past summer, it's right next to an indigenous reserve. And historically, we do know there is a buffalo cliff kill jump right near where the golf course is. And we have the historical records that people have been living around there for 10,000 years. But other than I really don't know. Along the power lines in between those two golf courses, there's some fancier, richer neighborhoods. So the properties have are probably about 3-4 acres. And if you go on Google Earth, it's kind of like a circuit board. So I do think the golf courses, the power lines, and even these richer, fancier communities with the bigger lots, I do think it's, maybe like a part of a circuit, something about this geographic area of Calgary where I'm at is part of the bigger picture. But other than that, I that's kind of what I've been able to piece together so far. And I've been, hoping to get, more spiritual insights than that. And I've meditated a lot, but that's about all I've been able to kind of get thus far.